Hey, everybody. Welcome to the final episode of season 1 of the Maps Are Dead podcast. Can't thank you enough for joining me. For all those of you who subscribed, download, shared, it means the world. Hope you'll continue to join us. This is the final episode for this first season. For the next month, this is 1st of January when I'm recording this. For the next month, we're going to reclip some of our shorts, some best moments and takeaways. We'll do some shorter things over the next 4 weeks as we lead up. We'll be back after Valentine's Day, hopefully the middle of February, with a whole new season. When I started this a year ago, I didn't know if we'd get this far. In fact, someone told me that if you record more than like 20 episodes or 15 episodes of your podcast, you're in the top 1% of podcasters. So we made it. I have learned so many things this season. I hope you have too. I wanted to say that one of the things I'm learning is how to not ask too many compounded questions. Some of you know it's funny. As I do these episodes, I take the transcripts and I feed them into ChatGPT and coach myself. And, part of the conversation is, wow, okay, Mike, are you getting there sharper and you're getting there clearer? And so even going back to earliest episodes, like we started with Mariah last year, it's been fun to kind of see the progress, both in how I'm showing up, but also in responses and in the ways that our guests have talked to us. So I'm learning a lot. I hope you've learned a lot this season. Maps Are Dead started a year ago as this idea when someone said, Mike, you really should just unpack people's CliftonStrengths with them. There's nothing more fun for me than to actually have somebody that has taken CliftonStrengths and they've never actually understood the language and how that language applies to their life. And so I had this idea of, could I get people who would basically do almost like a coaching call? And so before Maps Are Dead, the podcast we have right now, before that kicked off, I was really just trying to do basically like a live coaching session. We don't really prep these calls. We ask people to take CliftonStrengths and then we unpack anything we're going to unpack in the call. And so I was just, first of all, trying to help people understand their strengths. And I love watching them get ahas. But then I thought more like, let's focus in around decision-making a little bit and what to do when you need to make decisions. And there's no roadmap to that decision. In fact, that book I wrote years ago now, which probably should be updated, Extraordinary, The World Sold You a Map, but what you need is a compass. That book is all based on this idea of we are encountering a world where the world can't tell you what to do. And so a map only works if somebody has been every place that you're going. And never, I believe, at any time in history, have we ever been in a place where the old maps don't work. That the path of go to school, get a job, retire, have this life, that's a path that doesn't exist anymore. Even in investing, they say invest this way and you'll have these returns. And the maps of all those pieces, even in fitness and in health and in our life, we're discovering new ways and different ways of thinking things, and we have to address it in different ways. And so this whole idea of Maps Are Dead, which is kind of a strange title, is this idea of currently in the world we're living in and in the coming years, it's unlikely that most of those maps are really trustworthy. So what do you do when you don't have a trustworthy map? You have to become great at navigating, because here's the thing, you're still moving forward. You're still moving forward in your life. And we need you to have ways of navigating your life, even if the maps don't work. Now, there are pieces of maps that are fine. And I'm not saying that we should throw out all the old history and we shouldn't learn from science and we shouldn't follow these things that we know to be true. But I think our assumptions about what those things mean is different. I'm still a big believer in education, for example, but the guarantees and the promises and assumptions we made about what getting a college degree will mean this way. Or when it comes to leading people, if you just do this, then people will want to follow you. If you just pay them these bonuses, then people will just take any abuse, any frustrating situation, and they'll just follow you because you're paying them well. The assumptions about what we see in front of us is the thing we need to rethink. And so I think a map in some ways is a pre-built assumption route. When we say maps are dead, we're basically saying assumptions are dead, or at the very least they should be. We've got to look to the future by going, we still see the truth. We still see the need for education. We still see the need for direction. We still see the need to navigate the challenges and roadblocks in our lives. But we can't always make the assumptions that the tools that used to work will work before. The routes around the problems will still be there. That things that we invest in now will have results later. We have to find a new way of navigating. So if the external world is resetting its relationship to assumptions. We have to focus in on the internal world. We have to focus in on our strengths, our knowledge, our experience, our values, and most importantly, our vision for ourselves. So maps are dead was this idea of going, if the external world is becoming unclear, or at the very least being rewritten, we have to then pivot in. And if the maps are dead, we have to pivot into a compass. And so CliftonStrengths, many of you know, is the starting point for that for us. So it's a podcast focused on CliftonStrengths, but we've had deeper conversations. As I look back over this year, a couple of things. One thing I didn't expect was how much people would resonate with when I would talk to my guests, and they would talk about the relationship to their spouses or partners. Mariah kicked us off really well here as I was talking about the relationship between her and her husband and Perry's responsibility and Mariah's maximizer in a very first episode, talking about that relationship between a partner who feels the need to take action on things, and yet at a time with her needing time for creativity and expansion that might simply be a prototype and a test. People really resonated with, yes, my partner and I, we have such different strengths, which means that we approach the world in completely different ways. Wasn't really ready for that. Also, a couple of different times, it was really great for me to experience people really confounding my own expectations. I think it was Jonas we talked about how he would use his context theme. CliftonStrengths' context theme is a critical thinking theme that likes to understand the past in order to form the future. But he actually works in sales. And so this ability to dive deep and go, wait, I'm going to use my ability to think about my customer's past as a sales tool for the future was really profound. It reminded me that, again, we often put labels and expectations on, well, if you're in sales, you're very outgoing and you have this, or that there's a certain way to do things, that people are only empathetic if they're relational themes. He was truly caring for his clients and even his team by thinking about them and his use of context, letting people use whatever tools they have to get any job done is part of great leadership. And so Mariah and Perry in their conversation about partners stood out to me. Also, this remembering the deep component of using any strengths you have to get any job done. That's the sign of true genius. Use the tools you have to accomplish things in new ways, not just telling yourself you can't. But then the last one too was there was a couple times, I think when I was in Italy and I was recording an episode with someone, trying to think who it was. It'll come back to me. But I had this conversation and I wish I could remember. There's so many episodes right now and I just wanted to do this live. I didn't really want to unpack too much. But I remember, we're talking. I said to him, what would your children want to be true for you? He was talking about making shift. He had a very safe job, a career. And it's this idea of what does the future ask of me? And we stumbled into that conversation. That was a question that just came to mind. He was talking about the importance of wanting to deliver for his kids. And I remember realizing that we will often do things for others without really considering others. We'll do for our future kids. We'll do for our family, their future situation. Hey, I want to provide this for them later. But we don't often put ourselves in that position where we go out there and look back. And so that was really profound. Even as the question came to me, to have him, he really authentically wrestled with it, I remember. And it kind of reframed some of the assumptions of, well, they want me to do the hard thing right now. And I said, what if they want you to be fully alive? Those are some things that stood out to me. One of the things I do want to talk about, though, a couple things that still stand out as we think about this idea that maps are dead, is that when it comes to our life, I think it's time that we get a lot more direct and start asking questions and get agreements with one another instead of operating on assumptions. If you realize that maps are dead, if you realize that the maps are dead or things aren't working, instead of throwing your hands up in frustration and kind of just saying, I'm going to toss it all, when you're navigating your life, I think instead you have to say, what exactly do I know to be true? What agreements am I making with myself and other people about what I really want? And then how do I trust myself moving forward? I think part of the conversation is that we have to become good at trusting ourselves. We have to become good at believing in ourselves. If the maps are dead, the one thing we have to make sure that is not dead is us. We have to be cultivating our strengths. We have to be cultivating our understanding of our values and how that impacts us. We have to be cultivating what fills our dopamine tank that keeps us going versus doesn't. And I think this is why I love CliftonStrengths so much, is it starts to give language to these things, the things that we should be cultivating in our life. And so when we focus in on that, that actually starts to have real transformational value. And so again, if you're looking to join this new year in a different way, I would suggest you reach out to CliftonStrengths and go to my.gallup.com, get a top 5 code, take CliftonStrengths, and start to unpack some of that. And in fact, if you message me here, we'll give you a little video to kind of respond to that in any way we can to help you understand your CliftonStrengths more and understand the compass inside of you to help you navigate. One thing I do want to tell you too is that in the new year, as we're taking a break, we're going to take a few weeks off just so we're focusing in. I'm really excited. I just recorded a 22 episode course that's going to be available called Vision to Decision in 30 Days. I'm really excited to offer you that. That's just been finished. My buddy Handel's been working around the clock editing that. And that was a mix of wanting to take something beyond CliftonStrengths to then say, well, how might we then apply that to decision making? And when it comes to the maps being dead, how do we think about navigating in a whole new way? And so that's actually being finished right now. And that's going to come out at the end of this month, early February. So we're offering that up. But moving forward, we're going to still keep calling this podcast Maps Are Dead. But I'm excited about a whole new direction for 2026. And I say a whole new direction. I don't know if it's a whole new direction, but it's a good thing to say. It's a different direction of wanting to go deeper. But this is not just about decision making. It's about decision making in moments of fit. I've really spent a lot of time in the last 6 months trying to figure out what part, for me, I'm most excited about offering you. As I look back, the TDG, the Dauphinee Group, my company, we actually incorporated in 2007, but we actually started work as a sole proprietorship in 2006. So this officially is the 20th anniversary of the Dauphinee Group, even though the group at the time was just the voices in my head in 2006. As I've looked back and really gotten clear in the last 6 months about the part that I love and what I feel like has been our special gift to the world when it comes to content and leadership and motivation and execution, it's this. We believe that a good fit means better decision-making, and better decision-making means better execution. And so understanding how you can use CliftonStrengths and how you can use vision and how you can use self-development tools to create lives that better fit you so you can have a better decision-making and have better outcomes and execution. For us, we take CliftonStrengths and we apply it everywhere. If you work with the Dauphinee Group, we'll apply your CliftonStrengths to your career/purpose, to how you approach your mental wrapping your brain around finances, how you see relationships, how you even manage your personal health. And so purpose and career, finances, physical health, relationships. We believe the CliftonStrengths can impact all of those things and give you a better language of fit. So finding your fit is going to be critical. For me, knowing that you have context means that I understand how you best learn. Why? Because context needs to gather background before they take on new information. Like I mentioned before with Jonas, having context tells me how you best relate to people when it comes to dating and relationships. You're likely going to want to know history about a person over time and build slow relationships stepping into that. When it comes to finances, you're going to want to make sure you have all the data gathered backwards in order to make a plan going forwards. And when it comes to fitness, you're going to want to be able to track the goals of here's where I'm starting, and here's the programs that have worked for me in the past. That's just a little example. If you have a ranger, let's say, for example, when it comes to your career and your purpose, you're going to need a big anchor point out there of what you want your career to look like long term. And then working backwards to coordinate and sequence the steps it takes to go, if I want to be there, then I should probably apply for these certificates and these jobs here. I should probably step out of my role at this company within 2 years. And you want to sequence that out. Arrangers, when it comes to relationships, you likely want to have multiple things going on in those relationships. The more that you can actually have multiple ways of interacting with that partner or person, not just one-on-one in a relationship, but doing things with them or working out with them. The more variety there is, Arranger, in the dynamics of your relationship, the healthier that relationship's going to be. When it comes to fitness, you're going to want to make sure that you have a fitness program that fits into your life. When it comes to finances, again, it's going to be about tracking it all and having a financial goal. Targets and goals are really important at the end for people with a range of responsibility. See, we'll take CliftonStrengths and we'll apply it to all kinds of different areas. And so our new course, Vision to Decision in 30 Days, talks a little bit about that. But this podcast, Maps Are Dead Moving Forward, it's going to be even more about the decisions, but how do we truly help you figure out how to use your strengths to find that right fit? Because there's no map to fit. That's a thing that is purely internal to you. And there's things that fit today that didn't fit before. And you might be surprised, wow, this is a good fit now. But more often than not, I will find there's things that used to fit that don't fit anymore. And this is a big challenge. Maps Are Dead is about decision making, but just so you know, one of the core decisions we're going to ask you to navigate with us in the coming season is going to be, when the map is dead and no one can tell you what to do, how do you make the decision to step out of things that no longer fit you? When there's no map to navigate out of decisions and moments and situations and partnerships that no longer fit, how do you make that decision? Because that is a whole internal process. What I love about the word fit is that when you put on clothes, there's times where you know they don't fit, but you may not know why. You kind of have a rough idea. You're like, oh, the waist is too tight, or the sleeves are too long, or the shoulders are off. But a tailor will come and give you words. Oh, yeah, that hem should be 2 inches shorter. Oh, yeah, that seam should be further up on the shoulder. Whatever it is. But they have specific words. We want to take CliftonStrengths for you more through the Maps Are Dead podcast, through the courses and other things we create, and help you find the language so you can better fit the big moments of your life. Because having language around fit will create better decision-making, and better decision-making creates better outcomes. So I'm excited to share this with you. I'm excited for new guests. We are going to talk to everything from educators to athletes to photographers to moms, dads, people in general, some more spiritual conversations like we had with Luke and others. I'm really excited that you guys have followed along so much. Please, we would love to hear your comments. If you have a topic or you have questions about how to find your fit or what to do when it comes to navigating past moments that you're in into your future, we would love to hear from you. I'd love to get ideas about episodes, even if they're topical and not necessarily tied to a person. We can have that conversation too. Love to have you please follow and share and like. I do this because in 20 years of doing this, I've worked in war zones. I've worked in boardrooms. I've worked with founders. I've helped with people navigate mountains. And I've learned that all those are hard-earned lessons for me that I would love to provide to you. Somebody asked if there's one thing that you didn't have this year that you'd like to have more of. That is, I want to hear more from you that, hey, Mike, a tool you gave us really, really helped us create impact. Hey, it made a change in our life. So much of our leadership information is theoretical. It's motivational. It's superfluous fluff. We really, at the Dauphinee Group and me specifically, I want to give you tools that actually move the needle for you. I want you to feel like we're in this with you. We want to build a relationship with you and a community of people that are mutually supportive going, you know what? The world is changing pretty rapidly. We need to depend on ourselves and build relationships of dependability with each other. So that's where we're going. We're going to take the next 6 weeks off, drop some more clips in. Please go back, check out some of your favorite episodes if you haven't yet. Please, if anything stands out to you, share it with a friend. Would love to have more conversation from you and hear about more ways that we can help you guys in the coming year. So thanks again. This is this week's episode of Maps Are Dead from Mike D. Please like, share, drop a comment below. Everything matters and helps. Hope you have a great January. Catch you next season.